Millions of Catholic faithful around the world getting some welcome news. Pope Francis showing signs of improvement as he battles pneumonia. Thousands of people packing St. Peter's Square on a cold, damp night in Vatican City to pray for the Pope and his health. The Vatican says the Pope had a restful night. He is said to be alert and joking and reading get well messages and feeling well as well, at least well enough to meet with staff and get some work done while he's in the hospital. Mary FioRito is with us, senior fellow at the Catholic Association. As the Pope gets better, there are also a lot of things happening behind the scenes within the Catholic Church. Talk a little bit about what is happening in preparation for any type of transition when it happens.
Well, when the Holy Father passes away, there is a long-established protocol and process that will go into place. The first thing that will happen when he dies, which will obviously now in modern times be certified by a physician if he passes away at the hospital, or his personal physician if he passes away at home. But the camerlengo, which would be the person who would sort of step into the day-to-day administrative tasks of the church, goes to the Holy Father's bedside. He asks if he will respond using his baptismal name, which is Jorge or George in English, 3 times. He will ask him if he can respond. If he does not, he uses a small silver hammer that's been used for centuries and sort of lightly taps him on the head. And that's the official moment when he is pronounced dead by the camerlengo. And then the mourning days, what's called the noviende, the 9 days of mourning, will begin at that time.
And even as the Pope recovers and his health seems to be improving, these things are already set in motion. And a lot of the responsibility, or all of the responsibility in naming a new Pope, falls on the cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church.
That's correct.
How many are there? And talk about the written ballot.
So there are 252 cardinals in the church, but only cardinals who are under the age of 80 may vote for the next Holy Father. So there are 138 of those. And after a period of 15 days, but at a maximum of 20 days from the Holy Father's death, the dean of the College of Cardinals will call all the voting cardinals together to the Sistine Chapel in what's called a conclave. And the word conclave, it comes from the Latin with the key, which means they're locked inside. So it is an actual liturgical experience. They will enter the Sistine Chapel, praying the Litany of the Saints. Then they will go in. They are seated in sort of a way with chairs that are set up for them in a way where they have privacy, kind of like choir stalls almost. And then they pray, and then they vote, and then the votes are tallied, and then the votes are read out, and they don't depart until there's a 2/3 majority for a new Holy Father.
And at this point, Mary, is there sort of a working list that they are pulling from for possible successors?
Well, no, I mean, there wouldn't be an official list drawn up or anything like that. And what's going to be interesting about this particular conclave, unlike previous ones, Pope Francis has appointed, I believe, 110 of the voting cardinals. Pope Benedict about 25 or 26, and John Paul II, only 5 of those cardinals are remaining who are under the age of 80. So this is very much a Francis conclave, if you will. And the interesting thing that he has done is he has appointed cardinals in parts of the world that have never had a cardinal before. So literally these men will be coming from all over the world, from the edge of the earth, and many of them don't know each other because of that, because they are coming from such distant places and haven't had the opportunity to work together. That was not the case under Benedict or John Paul II. So this will be very interesting to see what might occur, because we're looking at parts of the world that never had a voting cardinal. So it really is, we believe, up to the Holy Spirit who will be chosen. And, there are some names that you hear frequently, but, sometimes those are the men least likely to be elected, because so many people think that might be the case, that sometimes that works against you, if you will.
So ultimately up to the Holy Spirit. But it sounds like Pope Francis has had an instrumental role in just sort of the changes we've seen within the Catholic Church. What do you believe, Mary, will be his greatest legacy?
Oh, I think it stems back to the moment he was named, when it was clear he had won. The cardinal sitting next to him from Brazil turned to him and said, don't forget the poor. And that's why he chose the name Francis, after St. Francis of Assisi, who, of course, founded the Franciscan order, which is, poverty and living and serving the poor, really has been the hallmark of this papacy. And to try to remind the entire church, particularly those of us in the first world, not to forget the poor. And I think that came at a very good time for us, right? Especially in the Western world where we have so much money and have such advances, yet we still have a lot of the world that lives in desperate poverty. And he brought that back to the forefront for us, that this is to be a church of service to the poor.
Well, thank you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge. I'm Mary FioRito. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.